Hi, I'm Faiz Shah, and I'd like to welcome you to our webinar today on Six Sigma and its relevance to the changing world around COVID. So I see that a number of you have already logged in, and we are streaming live on Facebook as well. So welcome all. I'd like to begin right away with a short message from our Executive Director, Dr. Jonathan Shaw, who heads the AIT Extension group here at AIT. John, may I invite you to welcome everyone?
Okay, so a very good afternoon to everybody from Thailand, and a very warm welcome to this webinar, which is the first in a series of webinars that AIT and AIT Extension is conducting in collaboration with the Institute for Change and Transformation Professionals Asia, led by Ron Lehman. And this particular collaboration is with Toosy Advisory Services, and we're delighted that we have this opportunity to work with Muhammad Ali Toosy, with Ron Lehman, and everybody here this afternoon. This topic is an extremely current topic. I think it's not my job to explain the relevance of the topic to each and everyone's own circumstances, but it goes without saying that COVID-19 has had an impact on every single one of us and every single business that we're involved in. It affects market, it affects supply chains, it affects business, and therefore any ideas and ways in which that impact can be minimized, I think, are of interest. And we know that the Lean Six Sigma methodology that we're going to be talking about this afternoon has a very strong track record and is well established, but actually how we can apply the ideas behind Lean Six Sigma to the present environment is what we are looking forward to learning more about. So again, a very warm welcome from us here at AIT, and we look forward to a very challenging and stimulating webinar this afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. That's a great beginning. Of course, I'll just repeat what John said, that this is the first in a series of webinars we're going to be running on Six Sigma and change management. And as John points out, we're in the midst of this enormous change, enormous shift, which is fundamentally altering a lot of the assumptions or a lot of the givens that we had, about our world, about our work, about our markets, about our workforces. And so what does one do in a situation like this? Well, there's two kinds of people that we often meet. One group says we need to get back to normal, quote unquote, very quickly, which is finding the world that we had before COVID struck. And so that is the group that's looking backwards and trying to recreate a world that we might perhaps not exactly get back. And then there's another group of people, which I'm sure everyone that's tuned in today belongs to. And this is the group of people that's saying, yes, the world's changed fundamentally. Yes, there are shifts that might never always be reclaimable. And there's a new world that needs to be built. Some of it will be very familiar to us, but then there'll be elements of that might not be very familiar, and those have to be created and visioned. And that is the world that I suppose this kind of a seminar addresses. So it's my pleasure to welcome our two speakers for today. Muhammad Ali Toosy, who is CEO and founder of Toosy Advisory Services. He's one of the few Six Sigma Master Black Belts that I know, who's consulted with a number of industries, which is banking, insurance, defense, of course, manufacturing and retail, and has extensive networks in the Six Sigma solution world. Our second guest today is Ron Lehman, who I've known for a while. And Ron's, of course, a campaigner in change management, and I've known him very passionately You know, to me, he embodies the spirit of change management, never giving up, always looking for opportunities. And Ron's experience also spans the defense sector, the industrial sector, the commercial sector, and most recently, both of our guests, I'm told, have been in very close mentoring programs where they've talked and dealt with issues in the C-suite and helped managers manage change and so on. So welcome, gentlemen. And with this, I'd like to just throw the first question out. Of course, we are mindful of time. We do have an hour, and we want to make this hour work to the best advantage of our participants. So I'm going to ask Toosy, what do you think about the major shifts that are taking place in the world post-COVID? Where do you see the most immediate utility arising in terms of using tools like Lean Six Sigma to overcome some of the setbacks that most of our commercial friends or entrepreneurial friends are going to face? Supply chains are disrupted, mobility is pretty much scuttled, uh, value chains are feeling enormous shifts, retail is down, hospitality, tourism, transportation, which is people transportation, are suffering enormously. But on the other hand, we see there are certain well advantages as well. We see courier services, logistics. We see home delivery based products. We see catalog shopping actually picking up. And most importantly, we see a huge resurgence or surge, I would say, in digital outreach platforms, whether it's commerce or education or trade, you name it. And so, in this context, Ali, what do you think? Where do you fit Six Sigma, and how do you think it makes sense to immediately understand a little bit more how Six Sigma helps us recover from COVID?
Yes, thank you, Dr. Faiz. Six Sigma, you've actually said quite a lot, and answering each and every point might take quite a long time. But let me actually start with one thing. We are in a new situation, and in this situation, what's happening? The situation has changed. All of a sudden, it's a big bang, and one fine day we find out that the whole market dynamics has changed. So what do we need? Don't we need to become leaner? Don't we need to become customer focused? Don't we need to adapt to the new methodologies or to the new normal? And don't we actually have to make sure that we realize what the customer actually needs and adopt accordingly? Are we going to go think in the traditional way, or are we going to think in a way which is fit for the time we're living in and the type of disruption we're in? Are we going to actually think about Lean or Six Sigma or different methodologies from a lens, or are we going to look at Lean, Six Sigma, or change management from a new lens? And are we actually even realizing whether the Lean Six Sigma itself has evolved the body of knowledge and the way people are practicing and the way it's changed through the last 30, 40 years? How is it? I mean, that's also evolved. I mean, there was a time when it wasn't associated with innovation. Now, disruptive innovation is part of the lean mindset. It wasn't associated previously with product development. Now it is. We have the Lean Startup, a whole Lean Startup series. That's part and parcel of it. It was more associated, well, initially it was more associated with the manufacturing excellence. Now it's also associated with the service industry. I mean, if we actually want to survive, because Lean Six Sigma is all about reducing costs, becoming faster, changing faster, being customer centric, improving, and improving in a way that you are reducing costs, you increase your efficiency, accuracy, and precision. That's all what it is about. And if we are going to survive, when would we need Lean Six Sigma even more? I mean, this is a time when we're all in a mess. We're all in a different situation, something which we don't understand. We are all going through the emotional challenges. And if we're not going to act, and businesses need to survive. And I would actually, in today's fast moving digital age, it requires a nimble foundation for leading and managing organizations. Are we going to be bureaucratic? Are we going to have layers and layers of management in such a situation when we need to have instant decisions? Or are we going to actually be dynamic? If this is not time to actually be leaner, to be agile, to be more fit for purpose, when is it? It's simple. I mean, it's simple. It's on the wall. Lean and Six Sigma has to be part of the recovery plan. We have to make sure that we improve, we adapt, and we do it in a way which is most effective. Lean and Six Sigma is all about taking it to the next level using a proven methodology. And I mean, there's a lot of people who actually look at Lean through different lenses. Some people say that, oh, maybe Lean is not that fit because in the just-in-time situation, there's one criticism which is very valid. The just-in-time, because of just-in-time, or because of in the traditional Lean, we had a single manufacturer. But what says that Lean cannot have more than a few manufacturers? Because at the same time, when we're saying just-in-time, we're also saying continuous flow. Continuous flow is also part of Lean. And adopting to the concept of Kaizen is continuous improvement. So we can't actually think about the 30, 40 years old with the 30, 40 years old lens and think that you would use that and you would still actually solve a problem in the current day and age. That's exactly why Lean has become relevant, and understanding the real Lean is even more important than just having something at a very, I would say, superficial level of understanding. And that's why I think it's an essential skill. I consider it an essential skill. Lean Six Sigma is an essential skill to survive. Same is the case with change management. Those who, I mean, there's a very within Pakistan. There's an example. We had a problem of ventilators. Initially, we found out that the government only has 2,000 ventilators in their hospitals. Now, a lot of people, including me and a lot of friends of mine, have been part of the startup community and trying to grow it. So one concept within Lean is the Lean startup. So just thinking about it, a guy gets a team assembled, has nothing to do with ventilators, gets a doctor, gets a few engineers, gets a few academics, puts them in one room. Within a week or two, they come up with a prototype of a ventilator. They go to the government and get it approved from different agencies like Engineering Council, like Ministry of Health, within 72 hours. If that's not Lean, I mean, if that's not actually the application of Lean and adapting to change very fast, what else is? So, I mean, that's the simple thing. I mean, if the ones who are going to do it are going to survive, and the ones who are not going to adopt, I mean, like Deming said, change is not necessary, neither is survival. It's a matter of survival. Yeah. And every industry needs to self-reflect. Every industry needs to think. In this environment, when you need to have instant decisions, can we afford? I mean, it's a very simple thing. Can we even afford being having delayed decisions? Can we afford not understanding the grassroots level requirements? Can we afford missing out what's critical to quality? Everyone is going to have to do something different to survive. That's on the wall. That's on the wall. I mean, I'm sitting down here in my house. I mean, I'm a person who's a traveler. I have to evolve. A few years ago, I thought that maybe digitally engaging is not that effective, but now I've experienced it. So critical to quality, adapting to change, and at the same time, for Lean Six Sigma, it's something which I believe is even more relevant than it was before. Because it focuses on customers, it identifies how the work gets done, it improves smooth and makes the process flow smooth. It removes non-value added activities and steps in waste. It's basically managing by fact and reduce variation. It involves to equip people in the process and undertake improvement activities in a systematic way. If we're not going to have to do it now, when are we going to do it? It's a mindset in which you listen to your customers and respect others, and you remove the bottlenecks and the waste in the systems. You're committing to relentless continuous improvement and creating value to the customer and to the company. Similarly, it's basically a methodology, which is an organizational operational philosophy that combines two of the most popular performance improvement methodologies, Lean and Six Sigma approach. One of the objectives is to eliminate 9 kinds of waste, which is classified as defects, overproduction, transport, waiting, inventory, motion, overprocessing, underutilizing employees, and behavior. And it's basically to provide goods and services at a rate of 3.4 defects per million opportunities. So if we're not going to actually look at and consider how to actually use it and not take benefit of something which humanity has already known since a long time, then when are we going to do it? And if we don't do it and we don't survive, whose fault would it be? It's simple. It's basically about gaining a competitive advantage, getting a competitive edge by offering better quality products at a competitive price, and making sustainable profits by eliminating waste, to engaging employees in discovering deeper ways to think about their own jobs and smarter ways of working. In the current form, Lean has been radically effective. And the reality is its true powers has yet to be harnessed. And we should be doing it, because this is something which is very important. And before actually we go forward and I hand it back, I would like to actually talk about a research. A research was done over 20 years of different Lean transformations. And there were 3 traits. There were 3 traits which were similar in all. There were obviously differences in all, but there were 3 traits which were similar over the 20-year span. First, they had to find a sensei, which is a master. After attending various workshops, they chose a master, a sensei. Then they accepted whatever the sensei was prescribing. Some did seem counterproductive, intuitive, but what they did was they agreed to whatever was being told. And then they committed explicitly to learning for themselves and for their teams. They created a learning environment. This is something which has been quoted in Bale, Jones, and Shives and Fume. in 2017, and it's a 20-year-old research which they quoted. So my whole thing is, what I'm actually trying to actually explain is, if we're not going to do it now, when are we going to do it? We have to grow together. We have to grow effective. We have to grow, and we have to be adaptive to change. We have to make sure that we become the best. And you're going to get the best when it's fitting to requirements, when you have the strength and the ability to react, and the strength and the ability to change, and the strength and ability to find out the new ways the consumer needs their products. It's in everyday life, we've seen it. Haven't we seen the increase of deliveries? Haven't we seen, I mean, even deliveries like yesterday, we got some mangoes delivered. You have food deliveries, you have vegetable deliveries, you have all types of deliveries. And some companies, interestingly, there are some companies which, because the transport is not on, like Airlift. Over here, we had a company called Airlift. They were actually getting into grocery delivery, which was traditionally their whole thing was about getting people from one area to another, office to office. So because that's not working, so they have been agile and fast enough to actually totally transform their things, and they've jumped into a new segment. If someone's going to survive like this. You're not going to survive. You're not going to survive if you stay the way you are. Maybe you will. But your chances would be better. And where the behavior comes in with the wastes, change management becomes even more essential, because it's not only that we have to find ways to improve. It's not only that we need to connect with the grassroots employees and the grassroots requirements of the customer.
What you say, Ali, is actually resonates very strongly with us, because we've seen around us, those of us who've been homebound most of the time during the lockdowns and the various restrictions that we face in our various countries on mobility. You're absolutely right. What a lot of people will naturally ask in this situation is, how can I make my business as responsive as the textile, as the transportation business, as the home delivery business, as the mail order business? So I think the point that we need to stress here, and I'd like to come back to this after a little conversation with Ron now, is what do we have for the businesses, for the entrepreneurs, for the people in the supply chains that can equip them with the kind of skills that you mentioned, that very quickly they can re-gear, reposition, and restart some of the opportunities that they might have missed in the last 3 months, but then optimize and get ahead of the curve with some of the work that they can tweak and tune to new ways of doing business. But I'd hold that thought, viewers, because I think Ali is going to be back with some nuggets on how we can actually do it, and what some of our training programs are going to promise to deliver for you. Ron, thank you for waiting patiently on the sides, as it were. But I thought before we got into this webinar, we were talking about how central this whole idea of learning how to respond to change is to so many things now. So which basically brings us to this very fundamental question. Change is everywhere, as they said, it's the only reality. But none of the recent, or in my 30 odd years in this area, I've never seen something as transformational as COVID. I mean, we've had financial crashes, we have industry meltdowns, we have trade wars, we've got all kinds of things we've had. But nothing has brought us to this flux, ever before. So I'd like to invite your comment on how do you perceive COVID as a transition, as a paradigm shift, and what is not going to come back in your opinion, and what are we to expect from what they're calling the new normal now? And how does change management and all the experience that you bring fit into this conversation?
Okay. All right. Let me start by saying that change management is a traditional process of managing change over a period of time. Okay. What's happened with COVID is it's a forced change. All of a sudden, this has happened, and people have been told they need to work from home, they need new technology, et cetera, et cetera. So it's a forced change. And one of the things that previously has been said is that you can't force people to change, but COVID has demonstrated that you actually can, but it's aligned to the circumstances surrounding it, okay? And one of the key things about change is mindset, okay? And by forcing a change onto people, they've had to very quickly change their mindset and the way they behave. So all of a sudden, no longer in the office, I'm working from home, I have to do this, I have to do that, I have to use new technology, I have to work with my children around me, I have to work with, et cetera, et cetera. So it's kind of forced them into a situation where their mindset has changed and their behavior has changed in a very, very short space of time. Now, some might say that's a bad thing, okay? Some might say that's a good thing. I'm kind of in the middle, to be honest. Yeah, because, at the end of the day, we're talking about people, and change is all about people. Let me focus in on the fact that change is all about people, and people have things that they need. And I work to 5 change principles, okay? And one of them is everybody that is involved in any kind of change, regardless if it is forced or it's managed, etc., have needs that should be met. Every individual has needs that should be met. Another principle is loss is part of change, and it needs to be addressed. So loss can be loss of the work environment from working from home, loss of contact with your colleagues, etc. So loss has to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. Another one is that people have certain expectations. Yeah. And again, these expectations need to be managed. What do I expect, as an example, once I'm no longer working from home and I'm being asked to go into the office? What are the expectations of me as an individual? Another one, and this is a very important one, fear. Fear has to be dealt with realistic. People, I've been reading quite a few articles about people who are being asked to go back into the office, and they are fearful of going back into the office, depending on what that office looks like. Okay, and the other one is obviously the piece de resistance, if you like, is you've got people that act in different ways in relation to change. You've got the supporters and you've got the blockers. And what tends to happen is if you bring these people together, you sometimes have conflict between the two parties. Again, that needs to be managed. Okay, so what we have is, over the last 3 months, we've had a forced change. What's happening now is that now things have become, I don't like the phrase, the new normal, but I'll use it anyway. Now that it's become the new normal, people now are reverting or going back to what was then, but it won't be exactly the same as it was before. There will be certain things in the office environment that the powers that be have said, you have to implement this, et cetera, et cetera. So people are going into an environment that is no longer the same as it used to be. So it's a change for them, and they have to adapt their mindset and their behaviors to work with the change. Now, focusing in on Lean Six Sigma, thank you, Toosy, for that very comprehensive reply. I nearly fell asleep. No, only joking. Only joking, really. Lean Six Sigma is a tool that will enable you to make your business more efficient. But what that tool needs to be wrapped around with is all the ethos and the aspects of change management and the way people handle new ways of working. So Lean Six Sigma identifies waste in various quarters, etc. Okay, so once that waste is identified, there'll be a new way of working. That new way of working needs to be implemented. Who's going to be working with those new ways of working? It's going to be the people. So that's where change management comes into its own. So Lean Six Sigma and change management need to work really closely together, because at the end of the day, there's a great deal of effort expended on a Lean Six Sigma project, okay? But if you don't manage the outcomes of the Lean Six Sigma project in terms of the way it changes the business, then the likelihood is that there will be issues when you try and implement it, because people will suddenly sit there and say, no one's told me about this. All of a sudden they're throwing new processes at me, etc., etc. I haven't been involved, and involvement is a key part of change. I haven't been involved, etc. So you need to wrap change management around any new tool or technique, and Lean Six Sigma is one of them. A very important one, I've got to say, it's a very important one. But you've got to wrap change management around it. Okay, so you've got a situation. You've got just to summarize, you've got forced change all of a sudden. Working from home, etc., etc., etc. But now the change is not necessarily going to be forced. There will be certain changes in the way people have to work in the future, but it's not going to be a forced change. And one of the key things is that whatever you do in the business, and you bring people back into the business, or they carry on working from home for part of the time or whatever, is that needs to be managed, not necessarily managed in the way it used to be over a long period of time, but there needs to be a certain amount of agility in terms of managing the way of bringing people back into the, again, what was normal environment, okay? And then, and if part of that new way of working or bringing them back into the environment is part of that, is that the company will use Lean Six Sigma to change processes, etc., to eliminate the waste, then all of that, as I said, needs to be managed in terms of change and the way people react to change. Change is all about mindsets and behavioral change. You need to change some of the mindset to make them change their behaviors.
Sorry, no, I was just saying that two words that kind of jump out at me. One is behavior.
Yep.
When you mentioned behavior, and also Toosy also mentioned behavior, I think one way that we all know that behavior can be positively influenced and changed is through training programs. It's through counseling. It's through getting people to learn together and then react together to perceived changes. And that's probably where I'm going to ask a question that's just come up on the QA by Mr. Rahman Yusfani, who asks, are we going to have any programs, and will there be certificates available? And so I've just mentioned to him already that, yes, AIT will issue a joint certificate for Six Sigma, and we're looking forward to having people join the Six Sigma Academy. But if you have a few moments, both of you gentlemen, could you please unpack a little bit of what the Six Sigma Academy promises for some of our participants, and also for those who enroll, and what opportunities and what alternatives are available? May I go to Toosy first, and then Ron?
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. The Lean Six Sigma Academy is something which is also an adopting to change within, that's an example, because it happened during this COVID-19. All the discussion started, and we came up with it. And it was a fast adoption using new technologies, because now the classroom, we're not going to have, for a foreseeable future, we're not going to have physical training. So we have to actually adopt ourselves. So that's us using us preaching and doing what we actually believe in, our preaching to. And our Lean Six Sigma Academy, it's going to offer a series of trainings and certifications. Some are Lean Six Sigma Green Belt, Lean Six Sigma Black Belt, Fun of Change. That's the one of the first few which we're going to be introducing. We're going to be introducing sector-specific ones like Lean IT, Lean Banking, Lean Startup. So these are the things which we're going to roll out very fast. And the unique, I would like to actually talk, for Dr. Fez, I would like to actually talk about the unique value proposition which our Lean Six Sigma is bringing. And that's a very interesting thing. The Lean Six Sigma Academy is bringing a unique value proposition by introducing and delivering the content which is current. Certain things which are going to be in the training material and the learning material and the interactions are as recent as March 2020. It includes the new trends of Lean. It includes Lean Startup. It includes Lean Innovation. It links Lean to innovation. It is including different practices, different examples. And the beauty is that we have also included change management part of the essential part of the essential thing. And instead of actually delivering myself change management, which I can, we have actually brought a person who has huge experience. Huge experience. Yeah, well, for me, it's quite a lot because, I mean, Ron has been practicing change management since before I was born. Yeah.
So, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Toosy, for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
Ron, your views on this are also important, not because you are definitely older than Toosy or have had all this experience, but because I feel that blending the sort of the relatively structured Lean Six Sigma methodology with a more diffused but more responsive change management approach that you have might be a unique combination, if it were. So would you like to add to what Toosy just informed us about?
Yeah, sure. First of all, yes, I've been around a long time, Toosy. I've been practicing
change. Young, that's all.
I've been practicing change before they even called it change management. But okay. Yeah. My fundamentals of change management offering, which is part of the Lean Six Sigma offering between Toosy Advisory Services and the AITE, is very, very much based on non-theoretical approach. My change management training is all about what I've done, how I've done it, what's been successful. Everything I train on in my modules is based on experience, okay? And I can tell a story for every part of my change management training. And one of the key things is storytelling in change management is a very powerful tool, okay? Because if you can actually back up an example or an anecdote with what you're trying to teach people, it sinks in a lot more. It is also a very practical approach. As I said, there is some theory in it, okay? There has to be some theory in it, but in its totality, it is a very, very practical approach to how to manage change. And it covers all sorts of things. And Toosy mentioned the fact that his stuff is updated. I continuously update my material based on, I deliver the training anyway, outside of this forum. But if a delegate asks a question and I answer it and I think I haven't included that, I then include that. So my offering is very much focused on what delegates want to know about. Practical, simple, full of anecdotes, full of stories. It's a very, how can I say, casual approach to training, but it's very, very effective. I hope. Ask Toosy. He's done it.
I've done it. I've done it this year. I've done his thing this year, and he's very modest to actually just say that it doesn't have the, it has all practical. It has all the practicality. And I have taught change management in a university. I learned it in the University of Surrey. I have done research. My MBA thesis back in 2006 was on change management. I have been consulting for change management. I have been delivering trainings for change management. And interestingly, when I actually had a session with the fundamentals of change management session with Ron, I still learned a lot. And it reaffirmed a lot of things. And the interesting thing is, because, I mean, Ron just said that there are things which he keeps on evolving. There is already, I did my thing in March, I think. Yeah, I think I did it in March.
Yeah.
And he's already added a new module, a new knowledge area within that, his training since then. So you can just well imagine how much he's actually updated it. He updates it continuously. Yeah,
the new model is change management of the brain and how the brain reacts to change management. It talks about the X system and Y system and the fight or flight, etc. Because if you think about it, just going back to what you said about behaviours, Faiz, is that the brain dictates how you behave. Yeah. So if you understand the functionality of how the brain works, you are probably better equipped to be able to get those people to change their behaviours more easily. But then again, each individual is different, so each individual has to be catered for.
Yeah, and that's the beauty. Yeah. That's our unique value.
So what I've picked up from this wonderful exchange, and I did want this to pan out as a conversation rather than a lecture on Six Sigma and change management, because we've got that in the courses, right? So we encourage people to go to our websites and to pick up material on what courses the Six Sigma Academy at AIT offers. And of course, there's plenty to bite into. But two concepts that kind of immediately jumped at me. One was Six Sigma and its role in actually managing workplaces. I mean, I was reading this bulletin which talks about how difficult now it is to maintain, say, social distances along assembly lines. How difficult it is to now work through doors that have doorknobs and no other opening mechanism. How difficult it is to have toilets being shared by a certain number of people. Those are one dimension of what I see as utility for Six Sigma. Not larger change management, but then the behavioral aspects of adapting to workplace reality that will probably stay with us for a while. That's one side. The other thing that again jumps at me is the larger marketplace, the larger environment where we need to get goods and services out. The need hasn't diminished, but two fundamental shifts have taken place. The ability to pay has diminished, or people are holding on to cash because they don't know when they're going to need liquidity. And the second thing is, because of loss of mobility, services need to adapt to get to customers in a way where shopfront don't matter anymore, where people don't walk up to businesses. Businesses have to evolve to build systems beyond just manufacturing or service provision into a completely new mode of service delivery. To these two, I think, to me, are critical aspects of some of the programs that we run. So I'd like to get a quick last word on what are the key elements that our courses at AIT Academy have that addresses these immediate concerns. One, inside the workplace, and the other, creating a new market for goods and services that otherwise we are already producing. So maybe a few thoughts on those guys.
Can I just what I will say is, yes, the issue of when people come back into the workplace, not only factories but offices as well, one of the things they will need to do, if the organisation they work for has implemented social distancing and whatever, is that you're going to come into an environment that is very much changed, and there may well be barriers in place that stops people from socializing. And one of the big issues is that we as individuals are very social animals. That is the way we are. we like to talk to people. We like to get close to people. We like to converse with them about all sorts of things. That could be a constraint in terms of when they come back into the office, where they are being asked to say, stay 2 meters apart. Yeah? How can you, what's the phrase, get up close and comfortable with somebody 2 meters apart? You're practically shouting at people. So it's a behavioral change. If they're being asked by their organization that this is going to be implemented, they have to kind of abide by that. But it's a behavioral change, and it's a change of mindset. And the only way to do that is to involve people in what you are doing. Don't just say, come back into the office, it's a new environment, get on with it. Yeah. And that's all about what I call one of the key foundations of change is communication. Talk to people. Tell them what's happening. Tell them what they're going to expect when they get back into the office, so it's not a surprise for them. And get them to understand, and even if necessary, get them involved in how you want to shape their workplace. Over to you, Toosy.
Yeah,
Please.
Success. One part of my training is that success is in simplicity. Make things simple. Do not try to solve complexity by adding more complexity. Make it simple, make it leaner, be critical to quality, understand the requirement of what the voice of customer is, understand his key requirements and base whatever the key requirements are. Just like you talked about that now because of social distancing, you need to actually change the way the assembly line would be. That has all of a sudden that has become a requirement. That has become a critical to quality aspect. So you would have to adopt and actually come up with new ways. I'm not going to come and tell you what exactly to do. I'm going to tell you how to think. How to think. Well, if you actually give us a very specific question, then maybe I would actually answer. Obviously, I will have to answer. But the basic thing which we're trying to do is to give a new way of thinking, a different way of thinking, in which you would be closer to the customer. You would understand what the requirements are. And by the way, because this is the social distance is going to become a compliance issue, and Lean does not say compliance is a key to actually quality too. Compliance is key. You can't function without complying, though it might not be actually purely value added. But yes, because at the same time, you actually have responsibility to your employees too. You have responsibility to each other. So that's why the behavior thing. So that's why it's very important. But the most important thing is that we would know, and very quickly we would be able to find out what does the consumer need. And once we know what the consumer needs, then we actually know how to we'll be thinking how to get there. So it's all about going to the basics and being consumer focused. It's consider everything as a journey. Our Lean Six Sigma is going to take organizations through a journey of improvement, and the journey includes the turmoil we are in at the moment. We need to actually rethink many things.
I like this idea of your journey. Sometimes the journeys are very short in time, yes, but there are huge journeys. Take the example of shooting off into space on a space shuttle. It only takes a few minutes, but it covers a completely different travel destination. The transformation is completely, unimaginable to a lot of people. So I'd like to imagine that our courses, our programs, and what we're trying to call a journey here is one of those journeys. It's not a regular journey from home to the office. It's a journey into a new dimension. We're talking Star Trek here. So I'm a little, I'm excited that you're both here. but I'm also a little kind of thinking, what is so special about our training program? Everybody understands this is a time of change. Everybody understands this is a time where we need to come up with new ideas. We need to make these fantastic journeys together. But what is it specifically in the courses that we have for startups, for banks, for IT, that would transform these journeys into from mundane travel to transformational journeys? So maybe we just have a few more minutes left. So I'd like to hear you guys on, just give us the key points on what our particular trainings at the Six Sigma Academy at AIT are going to bring to our participants.
Yeah, it's just like you said, the lean for the startups. The lean startup is not part of the traditional. It's not part of the traditional training material. It's going to be part of AIT offering. The innovation part is not part of the traditional material. We are going to have it, because if you do not update, if you do not continuously update your material, you won't actually, you will lose the status of being guru. And similarly,
So we're going to look at startups,
yes,
which of course in this environment, a lot of young people were poised to come up with great new startup ideas. I was judging a program in October, November, and there were ideas which some of them might have to restart. So startups is one thing.
Steve Blank.
Yeah, and then your other idea about building change management or integrating change management into our offerings, Ron, that to me is also a unique kind of proposition, if you may. So I'd say we're looking at startups, we're looking at banking, we're looking at IT, we're looking at transportation. These are some of the new Six Sigma applications that have not been offered before. And I'm really excited that to see you've built a huge repository of primary material to use in these classes. I myself am looking forward to joining one of your courses. What about change management, Ron?
Well, I'm going to repeat what I said before, to be honest.
You're not allowed to repeat. There's plenty in there too.
Okay. Practicality, pragmatism, simplicity, based on experience, stories, anecdotes, etc., conversational, chat. It's not a forced delivery. I am not going to force change management down anybody's throat. I'm going to say, guys, ladies, this is the way I've done it before. It's worked for me. Hey, it might work for you, depending on your circumstances, yeah? And they might say, well, I've got this, and I'm in this situation, and I'm in that situation. And I'll say, okay, I've done that before, and this is how it works. So it's very much interactive. It's not a, I'm not going to decry any other change management courses, but they tend to deliver tools, techniques, etc., etc. I will deliver tools and techniques, but I will also deliver I want to repeat myself, simplicity, pragmatism, etc., etc. And I'm going to deliver experience and knowledge.
That's really good. And I would like to actually add one thing. Steve Blank's definition of startup is an organization which is operating in extreme uncertainty. Aren't we living in extreme uncertainty? And because we're living in extreme uncertainty, all our normal businesses have actually, by definition, become startups. We need to go through that build, measure, learn, and we need to go through small iterations, fast iterations, agile. We need to actually learn how to come up with minimum viable product. We need to learn how to learn from it and improve from that and build that learning in our product. And that's exactly why it's become even more relevant, because at the moment, we are living in extreme uncertainty. It's become even more relevant than any time before.
Great. And now for this one question that's popped up about the bang for the buck. There's always this question. So they're saying, what's the immediate return on investment if somebody joins our training? They want to keep their name to themselves, but if we join your training, the Greenbelt training, what return on investment are we looking at, and how quickly?
Okay, I would like to actually answer this, because I recently actually was one day I actually posted something exactly answering that. We are living in a time when we know there's going to be massive layoffs. We know that businesses are not going to survive. Now, just imagine when the layoff situation comes up, when such a situation comes up, would a person who has particular skills survive that layoff, or a person who has multiple skills survive? Will a person who has an analytical mind survive, or will a person who has a traditional mind survive? That's the point which we need to think about. And Lean Six Sigma, especially the green belt and then the black belt, is going to give you an analytical way of thinking. And interestingly, which I previously didn't even know that, but when I was compiling my training, I found out that a lot of things which I'm teaching is the basis of data sciences. Because when I was looking at multiple books, I had to read data sciences books, and I found out that these are things which are fundamental in data sciences, which I'm also
But
teaching.
that's for the data science webinar, right? We're almost up to the hour. Quick closing 30 seconds from Ron, and then we will wind this up. But yeah, this is thought-provoking. If you invest in creating a new way of thinking and approaching problems in a new way, well, that's money back. Ron?
Very quickly, people-related issues represent the major obstacles in true Lean Six Sigma transformations. What my change management training will give you is an insight into the way to overcome those people-related issues.
Wonderful. So with that, with only 2 minutes to go before the time runs out on us, I'd like to thank both our panelists, our speakers and our guests, and our Academy faculty, Muhammad Ali Toosy and Ron Lehman, for joining us for this webinar on Six Sigma in a post-COVID world. And of course, we're looking forward to another series of seminars and webinars. And we're also looking to soon to launch our first courses in this. So I'd like to welcome all of you to go to the AIT website, check out the Six Sigma Academy, pick up the courses or the webinars that you would like us to invite you to. And we look forward to more such sessions. Thank you once again, gentlemen. And thank you, viewers, for being with us today. It was, I enjoyed it. I hope you did too. See you next time.
Thank you for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.